Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm here with my dad, Dr. Ian Dunbar, and his new book, Barking Up the Right Tree, which is available now. You can order it online or go to your local bookstore. We do love local bookstores. If they don't have it, they can certainly get their hands on it. I want to ask you today, Dad, you talk a lot about looking at things, especially dog training, from the dog's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? Dogs are a different species. How do you put yourself in the mind of a dog?
Well,
And how do you know that you've succeeded? I know that was 3 questions, so I'll go back to the first one. How do you take the dog's point of view?
I will speak rationally first, and then what I really do, because people will probably laugh. So rationally, I just realize if we're training, we have a trainer and a trainee, and they both presumably see things very differently. And so just logically, I try and think what it would feel like to walk in the dog's paws. So, for example, I think the last time I was saying all the owner wants to do is to get their dog to come and sit. Well, I now imagine I'm the dog in the dog park. Rover, come here. Rover, come here. Rover, come here. Come here. You know, I don't think that is really going to get your dog to come and sit.
Okay.
And so I did demos with human guinea pigs on stage, like at Cornell. I did a brilliant one where I brought up a vet student, and I met him beforehand. I said, this may be a little scary, but you'll come to no harm. So I gave him a safe signal.
Yeah.
So I asked him up on stage when the demo chance came, and I had 10 chairs. I said, oh, sit down, please. And he sat down, and I grabbed him by the lapels. I said, no! What are you doing? Well, sit down. And he went to sit down again. This time I grabbed him. I did a judo hip throw, held his arm so he didn't crash on the ground, and his eyes went wide, and he pulled his arms like this. And he was scared.
And I said, he should be.
I said, well,
you clearly seemed like an insane person who's going to
why
kill
don't
him.
you tell the audience what you've learned? And no one has ever summed it up better. He said, Dr. Dunbar, you're a jerk. I said, but why? I asked you to do something, you didn't do it.
Yeah.
He said, you asked me to sit down. I tried twice and you got physical. I said, let me show you a different way. And I pulled out a 20. I never had 50s back then. And I did this, and I motioned, and I put it on the third chair from the right. And then I lured, hand signals. He sat, I gave him the 20. And I said, come here. And he came to me. I said, sit down, please. And he sat on the third chair from the right.
Yeah.
And so it really illustrates, it's a wonderful illustration of house training. How many times can you punish a Yorkie for urinating in the wrong place, say in your bedroom alone? Now, it borders on infinity when you try and count them, you know, because there's not just, you know, under the bed or on the bed. There's on your pillow, you know, there's on you, you know, there's all these things. Well, every time you punish them, every time they do it, you've got to punish them. So infinite number of misbehaviors requires an infinite number of punishments, which takes a long time. How many right places are there for a Yorkie to pee in your entire house? Either 0 or 1, outside or the litter box. How long does that take to train one thing? A finite amount of time. Now, when I studied math at school, finite is a lot shorter than infinite. And that's why reward training is quicker than punishment training.
Yeah. So to put yourself in the mind of a dog, one thing you can do is you can do some play acting where you don't even try to pretend you're a dog. You just have someone treat you as they would treat a dog, and you experience it as a human. And even just by doing that very simple sort of scenario.
Just that you just think about it is all. Yeah.
Right. I mean, like you don't even have to, you know, like my question was kind of like, how do you put yourself in the mind of another species? But I think your point that's very well illustrated in the story is like, you don't even need to pretend you're a dog. You just need to get someone to treat you like they treat a dog to see how absurd some of these dog training strategies are.
Then you get it straight away. You get it. But the other way, I actually embrace my inner puppy. I'm being totally serious here. The first time I did this was when I was doing research at UC Berkeley, and we were doing, it was about sex differences in dogs, and then it moved to sex differences in aggression, sex differences in hierarchy. So after a very short time, we realized we couldn't investigate hierarchy by looking at adult dogs. We had to see it developmentally, because we had a male hierarchy that was perfectly inversely correlated with weight, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
In most hierarchy studies, the bigger dogs are the higher ranking. Ours was totally opposite. The top dog was the smallest little runt, second top dog, and so on. And so I thought we need puppies, and that's how I got my puppies.
Yeah.
Well, since we had the puppies, we thought we'd look at mating behavior, obviously, maternal behavior as well. And then I was sitting at home, not at home, I used to dog sit then, so I had a 6-month stint with a Malamute, and I thought about maternal behavior. How do bitches know how to whelp? With no guides, no books, or us telling them. And so I sat down. I must admit I had a couple of glasses of wine. I thought, right, I'm a bitch, and I'm pregnant. What am I feeling? Because I can't use words here.
Yeah.
What are my sensations? And I went through it all. The whole thing, the mammary glands, oh my God, they're leaking. So I licked them. What happens when you lick? You release oxytocin. What does that do? Cause more leakage, And so I went through the whole thing, including birth, and I had delivered my little puppy without any education whatsoever by a series of reflexes and one very special preference for amniotic fluid that gets the bitch naturally to develop maternal behavior by causing reflexes in the puppy, reflexes in the bitch, and so on, and induces all the other puppies to come out, because as soon as this puppy suckles, we've got oxytocin, which causes the uterus to contract, and out comes, and so on and so on. So I did this in dog training.
Well, first, before we go on to dog training, I feel like
pretty wild.
What I'm hearing from this, and I remember listening to your canine sexual behavior study and having kind of a mind blown moment where it's like, it is crazy that all these animals go through their experiences, many crazy experiences like pregnancy, without anyone being able to explain what's happening and what's going to happen next. And they can get through it all based on instinct and physiology. And I think one of the things that you bring to dog training that's super valuable is your knowledge as a veterinarian of dog physiology and instinct that allows you to, better than a layperson, put yourself in that mind of that pregnant whelping bitch, because you know what actually happens to their body, and you know what the hormones do, and you know what the body does, because that is so much of the dog's, or any of ours, experience, is the sensations in the body. And that your training as a veterinarian gives you this insight that a lot of dog trainers don't have access to in terms of the experience inside the dog. But then you were saying you took that same idea and you applied it to a young puppy. Tried to be...
Yeah, before that, I had another thought about the whelping experience, my whelping experience. Yes. That, you see, part of this was sheer horror at this alien event.
Yeah.
I mean, alien, like the movie. I have something coming out of my body. Well, first I'm exploding, and I'm trying to cut down on kibble, and I'm getting bigger and bigger every day.
Yeah.
But then this thing comes out of my body, and I thought, oh my God. And then I thought, no, a dog probably wouldn't feel that fear. I'm only feeling that fear because I've seen the movie Alien. And the concept of me now doing my giving birth is scaring me. But dogs haven't seen that movie.
Right.
Instead, dogs are experiencing something really, really pleasurable. The amniotic fluid that's coming out. The dog thinks, oh my God, I've always loved the smell of rabbit and cat poop, but this, it's like catnip to dogs, amniotic fluid.
Yeah.
And it's coming out now, which causes then the licking and the what have you. And so that's an interesting take. Whereas for humans, because we got brains and we've seen these scary movies and we know a lot of the dangers with childbirth, that, oh God, my hands goes out to shake the hand of any woman that's given birth.
Well, I mean, there's also just, even if you hadn't heard any of that, there is pain involved.
Yes.
Is there pain. Do you know if
It's
there's
extreme pain, extreme pleasure.
pain for
Well,
whelping?
certainly with sort of horses and cows when you've got one young, but for a multi-tocker species like cats and dogs, I mean, you can have some Irish setters have 17 pups. Well,
So I guess each one's pretty small, is
it's
what you're
like
saying?
rabbit poop, bloop,
Uh-huh.
bloop, bloop, bloop.
So you're saying there's less pain with a larger litter
Yeah.
because they come out in little
They're smaller,
serving sizes.
And I mean, I saw one dog once, giving birth to, and 3 pups were coming at once.
Uh-huh.
And they were like fighting to get through the cervix, and they all came out in a bloop.
Yeah.
3 pups, But yeah, if you've got a single,
Yeah.
and especially with long-legged critters, so like horses, those legs are real difficult to get out.
Okay, but back to how do you put yourself
training.
in the mind of a dog?
I do it with this dog who's in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he was in my original iWoofs, and I used to mimic him, and he sort of talks like this. And he had a friend, Mr. Akita, who he calls Sensei.
Mm-hmm.
And so it goes like this. The puppy says, Sensei, and then Akita would say, what did he call him?
Grasshopper.
Grasshopper. He says, what's up, Grasshopper?
Uh-huh.
And Grasshopper, the puppy, would say, well, I'm worried about my owner. I say, well, what is it, Grasshopper? Well, I was at the park the other day and I'm having a lovely time. He's ignoring me. He's checking his texts, and all that. And then, I think I heard him says, Grasshopper, time to go. But I didn't pay any attention because I'm sniffing this little rear end, And so then I hear him, he gets a bit later, Grasshopper, come. And then he shouts at me. I'm doing nothing wrong, I'm just playing. And then he gets really angry. And I was actually worried.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran up to him to see if I could help, what he's scared about.
Mm-hmm.
And then he shouts and screams, and he grabs me by the collar, and he says, don't you ever do that again. And so I don't know what to do. I mean, I love my owner, but I don't know what to do when I'm in the park. Well, Grasshopper, I think if you ever hear the words, come here, you should probably be best to stay away from your owner in the park.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and immediately it becomes obvious what the dog. So I used to do.
Sounds like your other big tip is to use a Cockney accent. Is that Cockney, or what? How would you describe Grasshopper's accent?
Just London.
Okay, London accent.
Not even East London. It's
adopt a persona.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
And then I became that puppy, and so you naturally ask a question. Well, you know the answer immediately. Stay away from your owner when he's screaming, or when his hand comes out to grab your collar.
Right.
Duck your head, dash off.
It seems like it boils down to putting yourself in that position and thinking about how your human is treating you, and then looking at it like,
I try to say words to puppies. Like I imagine the puppy's first huge fear, his biggest stressor is the first night in his new home. So he's been with mum and snuggling with his litter mates because they have to, because they don't have temperature modulation yet. So they're all in a lump. And now he's in a different house with humans, maybe no dog, or maybe a big adult dog. And then the lights are turned out and a lot of puppies are put in a crate and they're left. And I get myself into this frame whenever I'm doing a first night job with puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm lucky because my brain turns a light at midnight. Like you. You're
we're night owls.
But I've always seemed to been with morning people. So when we have a new puppy, I say, well, let's get it very early in the morning so you can get it used to going in the crate, coming out, getting in here, so we can house train it, get it chew toy trained, and what have you during the day. And then I take over usually about 9 o'clock when my human would go to bed. And so all the dogs in their crates. And we crate train because we have to transfer the training to somebody else. The dogs are trained for veterans, okay? Mm-hmm. So I put them, dogs in the crate, settle down, they all get their good night cookies. Then I sit down by the crate on the floor usually without a pillow or a bed, because I think I may do this quickly.
Yeah.
And I talk to the puppy. I say, "You're probably feeling a little scared now, aren't you?"
Yeah.
"Yeah, it's your first night." I said, "But the good news is I'm with you and I won't leave till you're sound asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you are, and I promise, even when you are asleep, I'm not going to go to bed."
Yeah.
And I talk to them. I
Yeah.
praise them when they settle down. But here's the kicker. When they eventually go to sleep, and the latest one, sometimes it's within 10 minutes, sometimes half an hour, one puppy screamed for a good 4 hours. And I talked to it, I sang songs, I recited poetry, I
Yeah.
cried, and eventually it fell asleep. Then I wake them up. Why? I don't want him to fall asleep and then we have to tiptoe around. I want him to fall asleep quickly the first time. So I wake him up. Well, he's unconscious now. He's been crying for 4 hours. Even though
He's exhausted.
He's exhausted.
Yeah.
So I wake him up, say, "Come on, open your little eyes." I said, "Yeah, see, I'm still here," because I can still remember the sounds of my mum and dad talking to me on car trips.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asleep.
Right, while you're dozing in and out of that
Yeah,
twilight.
you got it.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to the puppy, and I do it about 5 times. And then I walk away to the couch. I don't go to bed.
Yeah.
I'm in the couch in a different room so I can hear any whimper. So the whimper, I say, "I'm still here.
Yeah.
Just go to sleep." It takes me 2 nights max.
Yeah.
Usually the puppies are fine on their second night, always on the third. When it's time to go to bed, all the dogs go in the crate, so does the puppy. He gets his chew toy, chew, and he's asleep.
Yeah.
And I think by role playing, and I pretend I'm the puppy, and I acknowledge you're scared.
Yeah.
And I'm worried too. I'd like this to be quick.
I think that's great. Where I feel like you had when you're talking about putting yourself in the mind of the dog, gave me a couple examples of that scenario where your owner gets mad at you, and how that's a really important situation to empathize with the dog.
Mhm.
And this other one about a puppy's first night in a crate also seems like a really valuable one for people to empathize with.
Oh yeah.
Where people, they don't appreciate how potentially terrifying and unsettling and unfamiliar this experience would be.
Because there's no words.
Hearing you describe it makes me think about how I feel like a good mind game for someone would be the idea of being abducted by aliens. That you're at home, you're a child, you get abducted by aliens, and these aliens, they're not here to hurt you, but you can't communicate with them. And how would they treat you, like in a way, and you kind of want to be like that benevolent alien, where you're like, you can't actually say anything. You can communicate with them in the same way, like the alien language, you might not understand the words, but the fact that they're, bloop, 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 it's like, okay, well, I guess these people are.
You would immediately use your voice there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that.
You mean as the human being abducted?
Yeah, they're going bloop, 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 bloop. And immediately, as humans, we would respond bloop, 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 bloop.
Well, no, I'd say, "Please take me home. Leave me.
No.
I want to go home. This is crazy." Which is a puppy crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, you shouldn't be shocked that your puppy's crying in their crate that first
Oh
night
yeah.
at home.
No, the puppy has lost it.
Yeah.
He can't do a lot of the pro-social stuff. He's in sheer panic.
Yeah.
You've got to. I mean, this is Mimi's side, and Mimi, as Jamie's mum, features quite prominently in the book because we had these conversations of basically, on the one hand, a behaviorist observing, quantifying, an operant psychologist, then reinforcing to change behaviors, and on Mimi's side, cognitive psychology, embracing the feelings and emotions of the other party. And I mean, how can you not take that into account?
Yeah.
And this is where on TV, I do get upset with some trainers when they are obviously not reading what the dog is saying. He's trying to communicate, "Please stop," or "I'm scared."
Yeah.
And it's not so much what they do, but I object to that too. But it's that they carry on regardless, not acknowledging what the dog's saying.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very important when it comes to like dog-dog reactivity. We talked about this. A lot of people get scared because the puppy's growling, lunging, barking, and biting. But when you look at the rest of his behavior, he's saying, "This is only in jest. We're just playing, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And so they get angry with the dog and jerk him or even give him shocks
Mm-hmm.
for what is purely play solicitation and play behavior with other dogs.
Yeah.
So I think, teaching owners how to read And I had another brainwave last night. We need another course purely on interpreting play behavior. You know, that success.
I think people would love that.
You took that short clip online, or like, is it play or
yeah,
is
we
it
have a YouTube video, play or fighting.
play
How
or
to tell the
fighting?
difference.
And that we need hours of that with the running commentary, because we got the footage and it's good quality. So I was just checking for quality.
Which I think is a good point when a lot of people try and put themselves into the mind of a dog. If they don't have the experience to know how to interpret dog behavior, they can sometimes be 180 degrees off.
Oh, they often are.
What the dog is actually thinking.
Yeah,
and that's where
it's not sometimes.
Yeah.
Often. Totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dad, thank you very much for talking
Jamie.
with me.
That was a great.
I did enjoy that one.
Today. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening. Remember, if you want to get Barking Up the Right Tree, you can find it online or in your local bookstore. All right. See you next time.
Thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to learn more about dog training and behavior, make sure you visit DunbarAcademy.com to check out our selection of courses, many of which are completely free. If you'd rather watch more of our videos here on YouTube, just click the links to the right. And if you want to follow us on social media, everything you need is directly below. As always, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell for notifications.